Welcome to Leading Out Loud with Dr. Chantel Manahan, the podcast where we amplify authentic voices, bold ideas, and real impact in education. I'm a K-12 CTO, education consultant, and proud forever learner. And I believe leadership gets better when we share what works, what's hard, and what's possible. So let's dive into stories and strategies from the leaders shaping the future of schools, one conversation at a time. Hello, welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to welcome my friends Keyvan and Belinda here. They're the founders of a new product on the market called HubbleIQ, and their Fix-It Mate made me pause when I first met it. And most things don't excite me. I've seen a lot of things in my years in ed tech, but I definitely wanted to book a follow-up call. And then once I got to know them and their mission, I knew that I had to bring this to my school district. We did a demo and then a trial, and now we're full steam ahead this year. So Belinda and Keyvan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, this first question, Keyvan, I'll put to you. HubbleIQ, you're solving real-world problems here. Can you share the story of what sparked the idea and why you felt it was so important to build this?
Sure. Well, we are in the tech support space. Belinda and I came from that world, and we met in a previous career. It's boring. It's a boring space to be in, but everything relies on tech support today. I mean, you see how much we use our phones, our laptops. We never think about the internet until it's not working. And, the impact of that, to a lot of us is, it's just an annoying thing. But, when you stop and think about what that means for a lot of people, that's no more learning. That's no more healthcare. I can't get to work. And so I think we really saw how important, just all these moving things and technology working, seamlessly together. It's a hard thing to achieve. It's a hard thing to support. Chantel, you're in that seat,
Mm-hmm.
We just can't ignore how important it was and how big the impacts were. And so we embarked on a journey to, humanify it, try to change what hasn't changed in the last 30 years about tech support and try to, fix some of these annoying, pesky issues once and for all. And I think we're in a special moment in time where we can do it. So that's why we're here.
And to add to that, one of the things that we saw, especially around COVID, was the importance of accessing services online, right? There are services that can wait and there are services that can't wait. And when you think about the criticality of some of those services, like education, like, healthcare, right? The impact is pretty big. And we also looked at the teams that are supporting this type of services and the pressure that might be under to ensure that everything is operating properly, right? What do they do if something happens? And in distributed environments like schools, where they're supporting thousands and thousands, in healthcare, supporting thousands of patients, you can't be there 24/7 to help them when they need that critical service. It sparked the idea for us to sort of solve that problem and enable people to access critical services with less friction.
Well, you both shared just a little bit that you've had some different career changes leading up to founding this company. What personal experiences or aha moments shaped your vision for tackling this challenge? Belinda, I'll go to you first this time.
Yeah, one moment actually was very impactful in my mind. When we started, the company, we were looking at visibility, showing IT organizations like yours who's struggling, what are they struggling with, right? How do we sort of make that easy for an organization to see so they can provide the help? And then during COVID, there was an article in the news, and you might remember it, Chantel. It was a student accessing education from a Taco Bell parking lot, right? And we had just started working on this idea with Keyvan, and we're like, oh my God, They don't know the student is in the parking lot. They think the student is at home and accessing education. And how many of them are out there? And we had the technology actually to show them that she was struggling. At that time, we were unknown. Nobody knew about us. So that was very impactful to us. And so we put out a free product, an extension online. And behold, schools started downloading it very, very quickly, and they'll deploy it. And during COVID, they started understanding who was struggling with technology problems, who needed help. We were able to provide visibility. So that moment of that kid in that parking lot, yeah, definitely, was very impactful to me.
Yeah, I, was in this role, the CTO of a school district during COVID, and we didn't have outdoor access necessarily to the internet, but we fine-tuned the equipment that we had, pointed everything outdoors, created maps to show where the radius of connectivity was around the buildings where people should park. And, it was stay home time, but every morning my kids and I would take a route and we'd see, is the internet working everywhere? How many people are in the parking lot? We do the same thing at lunchtime, just as our way to get out of the house. And we always found families in our parking lots accessing the internet.
Wow. That's amazing. And yeah, and so that was just one glimpse. That's just the internet. Now when you really add in there, the device and all the other stuff that they need to consume to have a good digital education. It's not just the internet. Is the computer working right? Can they access the software? All of that stuff now comes in, and we have to solve for any interruption for that.
Yeah. Keyvan, what would you add? What were your aha moments or experiences?
Yeah, that was what Belinda described was a very impactful moment. It really, revealed to us that we were on the right path. For me, it was a little bit before that. I'll call myself the tech support for my family. And, I'll deal with my parents' Wi-Fi, my nephew's Wi-Fi, they always come to me. But I think it was when I left my corporate job and I was kind of out in the world alone, looking for the next problem to solve, and, taking meetings, interviewing people, interviewing myself, I realized this is hard. Like, why am I struggling with this? I'm an engineer. I shouldn't have these problems. Like, for goodness sake, if I'm struggling to make sure my technology works to get on a phone call or to access some services online, what about everyone else who may not have my background? And so it really, I think being out of the comforts and the confines and the call it the padding of a big corporate building and out in the world, you realize how big the world is and how helpless we are, but how much we depend on this stuff working. And so for me, that was like, okay, well, let's dig into this and see who else is struggling with this. And there's a whole world of people that hold their breath before they get on calls like this, hoping things work and hoping it works over here. Earlier, I was sitting back there, like it was working differently. Like it's a lot of moving parts. So for me, that was the personal moment that I realized that there was a big opportunity and a big problem here that is just invisible.
Well, on your website, if someone goes to check out your product, it says HubbleIQ is about making support easier, faster, and more human. Why is the human part so important to you?
Yeah. I think, and I'm going to jump in because I think it's a segue to what I just said.
Yeah.
If you look at all the moving parts we talk about between the device and the Wi-Fi and the apps and the cloud, well, there's another part of that chain that people, especially if you're in the technology side of things, it's easy to ignore that there is the person on that side. And if you're in security, that the person is the threat vector, is just as much as a non-patched OS. And so even when you bring it to tech support, they are arguably the most important factor of that equation. But I don't know, we like to, in technology, build faster tools and more expensive routers and solve this sort of human layer with more expensive tech. It's like, well, hold on a minute. This is why we're dealing with the same problems we've dealt with in the 90s in 2025. Right? What's the difference? What are we ignoring here? We're not even solving the actual problem. And let's actually take a look at the person on the other end and figure out how we can make them a part of this improvement and this value chain. So bringing it down to the human, focusing on empowering the human is, I think, is the so
I
Yeah.
love that. Great, like framing it around empowerment, right? You don't have to be the helpless end user waiting for tech support to rescue you.
A lot of tools out there that are specifically built for IT, and that's great, right? And so how we flipped it is we are going to empower IT for sure, but how, we're going to do it through the user, the end user, right? How can we empower this user to actually be more digital literate, right? Using AI. And we're all using digital tools today, phones, computers. So we're somewhat literate. So we tapped into that and said, okay, what if we could just make it easy for them to do some of these things themselves and solve these issues on their own using AI? Not that human factor is important to us, because if we can use AI to empower people to solve some of these tech issues, because they're there 24/7, IT is not there 24/7, using AI, then we can eliminate some of those unnecessary calls that go into, smaller teams like yours, Chantel, bogging them down with I want to reset my password, level 1 and level 2 issues. So it was important for us to empower that human and democratize tech support.
what makes me excited about working with K-12 is that, by empowering them at this age, when they leave school, when they graduate, when they go out into the real world, they're going to leave that Chromebook behind. They're going to leave that IT department behind. They're going to take the knowledge, that they gained in the school experience out to the real world, right? And they'll understand how to question what's real and what's not. They'll know how to ensure that they can do a job interview without having a hiccup, and I feel like that impact is going to compound itself, far beyond what we see in the 4 years there in the school building.
So we've talked a little bit around this, the gaps that you've seen in schools, workplaces, and communities. How exactly, give the listeners just a little bit of an idea of how does your product address that gap?
So for IT, especially within the education sector, the teams are small, right? There's usually, just in the smaller district, I believe it's like 1,000 to one technician. The larger district, it's more, much more. We're talking thousands and thousands of students, maybe, one technician or 4, so it's a lot. And imagine every student has a laptop today, many, many, many learning applications. They're learning in the school, they're learning at home. So we really felt the burden on those teams to say, how do they now adjust to this new digital education landscape? Small team, right? How do we help them, in turn helping the students and teachers? And so the gap is there's a lot of technology, not enough hands, not enough people. So this AI is something they can front. It augments their team to do more. It has reach. It's available 24/7. And so we're trying to fill that gap to where they're not overburdened, they're drowning in some of this stuff, so they can focus on other high level work.
No, that's spot on. Especially in this time where, there are, budgets are getting smaller and the demands are growing and AI is just proliferating faster. Even if you're not, managing it, it's there and it's making its way in. It's the method of keeping up can't be linear. It can't be just add one more person. You still need to do that, but you need to arm them with tools that are going to make each one of those people more proactive and more assertive in managing this world. Or else, school IT, which is really the spine of the school now. I mean, if you have to clean up an issue in facilities, you still need to go through IT, and so they'll drown really, really quickly if we don't figure out how to help them keep up. And so I think that's what we're seeing, and hopefully we are the arms, for lack of a better word, to empower them or to equip them, I'd say, with the tools to keep up.
Less downtime for the end user, and then more time for that strapped IT team to devote to those high level things, fewer tickets coming in that are low level support. And especially those things that you keep saying over and over again, right? This ticket keeps coming in. It's the same ticket, same question.
Yeah.
Well, let's automate that, right? And AI gives us the chance.
Mm-hmm. And Keyvan brought up a good point, right? Like he was saying, when him being tech support for his family, when you think about it, most of us are, right? Who does mom call when they need an issue, or kids at home? But not every student has that support system. What's going to happen, right, when they're trying to do homework? And so this AI is sort of like that assistant that's there to help them. And because of that, we also realize that when they go home, the language may change in the home. So the AI can actually speak different languages. It will adjust. So mom doesn't have to be, a technician. She can just be regular mom, but she can still help that student if they run into an issue. So we're empowering the whole family as well. It's available to help them.
So my next question is, what has been the most rewarding moment so far where you've seen your mission come to life?
I think we're thinking of the same story, Belinda.
Go ahead.
We've been at this for a while, and I think we work with Oakland Unified School District here in California, with the school, but also with the city, and we were able to utilize our data, the data that we're talking about, making tech support more equitable and more available, but it also helped to reveal very important disparity in internet access in the city of Oakland, where we were able to analyze the differences between, say, the more wealthy hills area versus the more densely populated flatlands, and with hard data, not just with surveys, but with actual data, we were able to prove from a census tract accuracy, precision, where the middle mile and the last miles weren't updated effectively, and where the access was compromised. That helped the city get millions from the state to fix that problem, despite maybe some lobbying against those efforts. There are reasons why they don't want to invest in some of those areas. Socioeconomically, they may not be as able to pay for premium services, and so what happens, you end up in the middle to the bottom of the list. That's a problem we shouldn't accept, right? We shouldn't say, okay, that's capitalism. Like, no, there are sort of things that we all agree. These kids they need access, they need a chance just like everyone else. And so our data was used to map out the area, get all the data to make it hard and defensible, and say, look, this is not us with just our passion for the mission. This is data talking. Talk to the data. The data is telling you, but there's a problem here, and let's figure out a solution. So for me, that was so rewarding, and I'm so proud about that work Belinda and I did, working with Oakland Undivided and Oakland Unified to prove that inequity out with data, with process, analyze data. I mean, this is what AI should be used for, right? To identify these things.
He said it well. That has been the most satisfying thing we've done so far. It's just now, a lot of the residents within the Oakland Flatlands will have better internet because of, the AI in our platform that we built. AI for good, we call it. And we still have it available. We have Fix It Made, but the data and analytics across districts, schools can still pull that. In fact, we're trying to make a lot of the reporting more available to the districts, and we're working on a feature where you can just go in there and chat with your data, just like Google. That way you'll be able to pull. You'll be able to say, what's going on with this particular area, whatever, and at a district level, if that data is needed, you'll have access to that.
Okay, so we said HubbleIQ is fairly new to the market. I just heard about you this last spring, and so startups aren't necessarily easy. What keeps you going when things get hard?
That is a very good question. What keeps us going? I think we like torture. No, I'm kidding. I think it's the impact, and we feel education is the beginning, but the impact of what we're doing, we believe in. We were experimenting with like our mission for a while. And I remember one of the things that we had talked about, Keyvan, was enabling everybody to access their digital opportunities, whatever that may be. And I think it's important to sort of acknowledge that, you know, what are digital opportunities? That's job, it could be education, it could be healthcare, it could be, you know, a lot of different things. So I think the impact for us, we know that we can make in this world is huge. You know, I see when I think about the future, I don't want, you know, my mom to struggle with technology when she's trying to consume something that is so critical to her, like, you know, healthcare. I don't want, you know, people to not be able to do their job or be at a disadvantage because of tech issues. So the impact is so big. And also access. Think about rural areas where there aren't a lot of IT people there. What now? Right? And so we can see HubbleIQ really being a global tool, even in areas where they're, you know, digital services are critical, but they just don't know how to manage anything. And so as the AI gets smarter, this technician is really an AI technician that's now virtual, that can be anywhere at any time. So the impact is huge.
Yeah, I mean, that excites me as well. You know, I mean, we fix Wi-Fi once and for all in California. It's the same exact thing that we can take to Australia, take to Indiana. I mean, it's a very scalable, you know, sort of stack we're tackling, and the reach. You know, I mean, we get traffic to our website coming from all around the world. You know, I mean, we can't be everywhere at once, at least right now. You know, I have a lot of airline miles, but my wife will have an issue of me living on an airplane more than I am now. But just the scale of the problem and just how long it's been going unaddressed in this way, it's really exciting. And Belinda and I being problem solvers, you know, stubborn problem solvers, you know, we will have good days and bad days, but so we're determined to solve this problem, that we just take an analytical approach to things. And it's like, okay, well, this didn't work. You know, okay, this is going to pass, and we're going to reverse analyze, engineer, and then figure out how to optimize it and get past it. And it takes a certain type of people to to do this day in, day out, but it kind of fuels you at the same time. You know, for all the lows you got highs, and for all the highs you have lows. So we kind of been conditioned to that part of startup life, and I don't know, once you start it, I don't know if you can go back. It's kind of addicting. In a positive.
Can't put it back in the box. Can't put it back in the box.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about like what keeps you going, what drives you, why did you start this company? As you think about technology support and the user experience, what do you hope HubbleIQ represents in that ongoing story, or what would be the future goal, I guess? What's your hope of the end goal of HubbleIQ when it's fully deployed everywhere?
Yeah. You know, it's a good question. I mean, I don't want to get overly philosophical here, but you know, I do really believe that, you know, we are, you know, sort of in a pre-HubbleIQ world. We're just sort of adapting an old, tired process when it comes to tech support. You know, there's different methodologies, different systems, processes out there. I don't think anything has really gone to the whiteboard and said, look, let's redesign this for the new world. You know, I mean, I think if you look at Moore's Law, it's a great example. Moore's Law said, okay, things are going to tap out here, then enter AI. All of a sudden, Moore's Law got another, lift up, and that whole chart looks very different now. And I feel like with tech support, IT service management, it's the same thing. And so it's easy, it's comfortable to kind of do things the same way over and over because the tools out there are built the same way. But I think we have an opportunity in this new world. You know, the AI helps, but it's not just the AI. It takes the vision, it takes a risk, and ultimately the impact's going to prove it. We're starting to see real promise with the impact of our approach, and I would say we have an opportunity to redefine what tech support looks like in a completely distributed, untethered, world, still full of fragmented technologies in the stack. You know, my Wi-Fi is different than your Wi-Fi. My computer is different than your computer. If I go to the other side of the yard, it's a different profile. And that's not something that some of these old processes were built for. They were built for being plugged in, having the keyboard, having the mouse, having the CRT monitor. Like, that's not the world. Soon it's going to be glasses and microchips in our brains, right? So let's think about that future and build a process for that. So I think we could be a pioneer for shifting the methodologies for just general tech support.
And I'm also going to be ambitious and say, I see a world where this AI technician that we built is on a lot of the devices. It should be, right? It should be, because why, if we can solve for, reducing the amount of like tech issue friction, we should, and it's going to be there when you need help with any tech, your TV, it could be your computer, it's that virtual technician that's there with you. And I also feel like, even though we are a business, I'll go back to AI for Good. I'm very proud of what we've built, because at the same time, we're helping, people. We're creating this huge impact. So I like that part of what we do. I think Keyvan and I are very mission oriented around you really impacting change. I'm originally from Zambia. I was born and raised there. So when I go back to visit, I see even just a huge, deficit there in terms of getting technical help, and imagine if everybody can advocate for themselves, solve some of those issues on their own, become more digital literate. So that's what I see. I see this AI for Good. I see us building, obviously a successful business. That's where I see us. Oh, and I also see us, I'm going to go to the technology part of it, the AI getting smarter and actually requiring less intervention from the human to do things. So if it's an end user, they can just say, hey, do it for me, and it's just going to go ahead and do it. So it's going to get smarter as well and do more, solve more problems.
All right. I always like to wrap up with something funny or surprising. Do you all have some funny or surprising things you've learned about people, about tech, or about yourselves on this journey so far?
Okay, I'll go first. I would say I've always thought I was an extrovert. Okay. And then here we are building a company with this gentleman over here. I did not realize what a true extrovert was. Let me tell, he puts me to shame. Yeah. He's like extrovert. That is something that I've learned. I'm like, okay, I need recharge. I thought I was an extrovert, but I need a minute and then I'll come back. He can just go for days, for hours. And that's a very special skill, I'll say.
Oh, well, I'll take that as a compliment. Oh, but it's easy to be. I don't know if it's extrovert or excitement for what we're doing. When we start getting into the Hubble talk, I can't stop. So that's. Well, I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you, Belinda.
It's a compliment.
For me, I think it's just the ecosystem that's out there of advocates. I mean, this journey has taken us to Indiana, taken us to Texas, taken us to Ohio, and there are people that are really excited about the opportunity that AI brings, especially to K-12. That's been eye-opening to me, because you go into a K-12, sort of innovation and technology, and you're just assuming you're going to be met with resistance and slow process and conservatism and decision making. And you know what? Once you kind of peek a little bit closer, you realize, like, holy moly, no, and there's a lot of excitement. People aren't afraid. They're more excited about what it can do to help and benefit the world and the next generation. That to me blows my mind. That part of why I get so excited, when I'm out and about with Belinda, she has to pull me back, is just because I'm seeing it. Belinda, we're both seeing it, and we talk about it, and we're like, holy moly, and like folks like you, Chantel, are helping us see it very clearly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the education space in general, there was a little apprehension about AI at first when ChatGPT dropped in, 22, and November 22, everyone's freaking out a little bit. But I think we've learned a lot, right? Education's been through so much, and, we've been through one-to-one, the advent of Google Docs, virtual learning, and then, of course, how COVID changed everything. So hopefully we've learned some from those past experiences to be a little more open about embracing new technologies, cautiously moving forward in ways that, as you said, keep humans at the center. It was a pleasure meeting you at the ClassLink conference last spring. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. Pleasure.
Thanks for joining me on Leading Out Loud. If today's conversation sparked an idea, made you smile, or reminded you that your voice matters, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, share, or leave a quick review. And remember, your leadership deserves the mic, your story deserves the spotlight, and learning should always come with a little laughter. Catch you next time.